at Edge and Node, working on building the graph. And today we have a guest coming from the streaming fast world. I welcome to Graph Builder's office hours, Mathieu Vachon. How close was I think that pronunciation was pretty good, but
Was good. It
he's the
was good.
CTO. Yeah, CTO for Streaming Fast, and very happy to have him here today. How are you doing today, Mathieu?
I'm pretty good. Thank you, Marcus. It's going to be a great day.
Yes, yes. Great Thursday, January 29th. It's 1 p.m. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from downtown Montreal, actually.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I'm in the edge of Atlanta, and
Edge of
so
Atlanta.
nice to talk to you from a few states, few country away. So, uh, before we get into what you want to get into today, the title of this live stream is essentially working with substreams, and there's a new feature that I know that we want to talk about. But before we get into that, let's back up a little bit and just introduce to the audience your background and how you got started with Streaming Fast.
So I started with Streaming Fast 7 years ago, essentially when the company kind of has been founded at that time. It was a blockchain company at the very beginning. We were working on EOS chain, which was renamed Antelope at some point, and it's now named Volta. And we were providing, at that time, even blockchain indexing solution for EOS. It's where we actually built all the Firehose core libraries and what Substream is built on top of today. And this is how I actually kind of made my way through blockchain. I didn't know anything about blockchain before that, and yeah, I've been there since the beginning and work on every aspect of what we have internally, be it kind of core low-level indexing solution or this high-level parallelization engine that we are working on, which is Substream.
Substreams, yeah. The concept of substreams is interesting. I worked with subgraphs for years. That was pretty much why I got brought on, was to proselytize about the subgraphs, and then thereafter, soon substreams came on the market, and it became this really interesting parallel, no pun intended, where we have two very powerful indexing opportunities for developers, both in enterprise level and also just your run-of-the-mill developer who just wants to pick up some code and start indexing. When you got brought on, what was Substreams like initially, and how was that feeling? And then compare that to today, the progress of Substreams, because I know subgraphs have changed significantly since when I was brought on. How much have Substreams changed in the last few years?
In the last few years, it evolved to become more production kind of grade kind of solution. It really started as a way for, we had firehose, which was really kind of raw, low-level data, and we need that transformation was important. Just having the data is usually not enough. You need to do something with it that is meaningful, because there's just too much data on the chain, right? So over the last 2 years or something, we improve, for example, the CLI tools. We improve the filtering capability so that you are able to get your data pre-filtered, improve the indexing speed of filtered data sets. So it changed a lot while remaining kind of the same at the same time, in a sense that the processing engine did not change. The way we work with data, it did not change. You still write kind of your Rust code and transformation in Rust, which is good for a lot of chain that like Rust, Near and Solana, for example. Some other, it's an harder kind of challenge, right? And that's a bit actually one of the reason why Substream skills, I wrote them recently. We did a survey at the end of the year about kind of, what do you want to see in Substream and what would help you? And some of the development constraint that really kind of came on as something that hinders kind of developer productivity. So we all know that kind of agent is really everywhere now, and those skills will give the agents the power it needs to understand Substream, but all the small stuff that it's sometimes that you want to do that you're not sure how, but it's easy to do with Substream, but you need to have the knowledge of how to do it. An example is just getting the head block of a chain, for example. It's quite easy to do with a simple CLE terminal kind of command to the Substream CLI, but it's a knowledge that you need to pick from somewhere, and then with the skills, the agent will have it for you. So makes that those kind of small details easier, right?
Yeah, I'm curious about your implementation of skills. I know with my own experience working more with LLMs and how that context window essentially becomes the make or break, where if you have good context and that window is exactly where you want it, you could do amazing things. And finding little tiny specific details, such as the end block, right at the chain head, that is sometimes right just outside of context. And
That's
so,
correct. It could take a
yeah.
lot of retry and try by the agent before you end up with the correcting.
Yep.
And you want to limit that to a minimum to exactly, save your context window.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing skills shared today, and I think this is a good time to transfer the the driving wheel over to you. Where do you want to start? I know skills are new. What's the best way to introduce the audience to this concept of substreams and skills?
I'll give a quick overview of what I think skills are in general and what they contain. Really kind of a brief overview. It's not the goal to actually explain everything about cloud skills or skills in general, because they are
Sure.
more broadly kind of auto-loaded by most of the thing right now. After that, I'm going to give you the quick instruction to run them in Cloud to install kind of the skills. We'll launch together a quick kind of prompt that I crafted that leverage the skills knowledge. While the Cloud is working on that piece on one terminal, I'm going to just explain quickly what do we have in the skills, what it contains, stuff like that. And we'll see at the end what it generated and how you kind of leverage that to make something easy, right?
Wonderful. Sounds great. Yeah, let's go start wherever you want to start, Matt.
I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
share my entire screen.
Okay.
There we go. Should be good. I'm going to just switch to here to have this video thing.
Nice.
So the Substream skills, it's on this repository here. It has, of course, kind of the details of what's inside. The installation instruction, they are right here. Quite easy. You install the marketplace, which contains a list of plugins, essentially. You can say the plugins are a way to distribute skills. Cloud skills, what they are a bunch of markdown file just put together with some synopsis that Cloud will read kind of the low level resolution of your skill, kind of what contains your skill. So it has minimal impact on the context window because it has a few tokens. And after that, those skills are containing simply markdown files with some reference about some important concepts that the skills want to give the information, and they have this kind of meta top level skill for each of the skill document, the reference that gives instruction to the agent, and voila, that's it. That's all. So a skills. It's essentially kind of a set of markdown files put down in some ways that Claude or any other one is able to read that efficiently in a kind of a lazy loading way. And when it needs to know more about something, because he knows that he's going to work on a substream, he's going to load the relevant skills at that point. So essentially, if we go here and we do it with that, you simply add the marketplace to your Cloud information, which here we're going to do that. It's going to clone the repo and going to know at that point that there is some plugin from that marketplace. The second step is simply to start your Cloud prompt. And then you go to the plugin tab, and then in the search bar here, you should be able to do Substream now. And we are going to see the Substream plugin. This plugin contains all the skills and plugins auto-load skills when they are loaded. So that means that once we have this plugin installed, okay, I'll do it right now, install for me. It's installed, Claude asks us to reload, so we're just going to reload that and validate that it loaded the skills correctly. And we can see here that it loaded kind of the 4 skills that contains the repo, the plugin, the Substream skills plugin. And we can see how many kind of the token that was kind of consumed for that skill. So this is the lazy loading part of loading a skill, right? You just loaded kind of the few kind of description tokens, so you don't pay kind of a high price, and he will going to use them after that when we do to ask him something. I prepared a prompt already to make that easier. Here we can see, maybe I can just make my screen a little bit bigger.
Yeah, you can see it.
I just kind of ask him that we are going to work on a polymarket substream. We want to sync that to Postgres with some trade information and volume information. And it's use our new kind of feature that we call Postgres Delta updates that we are going to announce next week. This is just to create kind of aggregation more easily. You don't need to use Substream Store. You can just kind of emit a delta, and the Postgres sync is going to kind of accumulate that for you. We ask him to use Docker to launch a Postgres database for testing, and we ask him clearly to just work on this repository. I'm going to launch Claude right away. He has the skill. I'm going to feed him the prompt, and I'm going to do dangerously kind of dangerous mode because it's easier. Let me just check if I have no. Okay. It's Claude dangerously allow. I don't remember the exact. Let's go check. It's
This was called YOLO mode, wasn't it, initially?
YOLO mode, yeah, exactly. We are going to run that. I usually run in Sandbox, but I want just to showcase, so it's not something that I would recommend people to do, but let's do it. You know, it's a big deal.
Matteo, you're born to be a DevRel. You're born to be a DevRel.
That's great. That's great. So we can see that he will build a polymarket thing. He's loading the relevant skills already, and then he's going to do everything from that point. We are going to leave him alone. He's going to use the skills information to do all that. While he's doing and working on this, I'm going to explain a little bit how we've built the skills exactly and how we what it contains essentially, right? So how I built it, I started in Christmas, around Christmas time. This is when we sent the survey. I had a few response. People were telling us that development was something that they would like to see improved. Skills were not new, but it was something kind of still going on. And I felt that MCP, it's a little bit kind of hard to actually ship something. You need to do a lot of code to do that and integrate into your coding agent, stuff like that. Skills
MCP felt exciting, but also not what was needed. It's like a lower level or maybe one step too far abstracted that skills feels like it fills that gap. It's a little bit closer to Chainhead, if you will. Metaphorical, of course, Chainhead of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. It's for me, it's more about just kind of, hey, here's some information about how to do something. And MCP is cool, but you know, right now they are able to run so much CLI and bash tooling that going to the Substream CLI, for example, it's much easier in the sense that for us also for development and maintenance perspective, right? So decided to launch some kind of skills work. I initially started with Claude, and I give him some information about Substream. I pointing him to the doc. I gave him also a bunch of Substream that we had, kind of some of them with interesting content, interesting development. And this is what kind of Claude gave me initially. It was the kind of the first pass. This was in Christmas time this year. What I did after that, when going back to the office, I kind of started to actually use them for real in some Substream development I needed at that time. I work with him with doing a Kendall demo, kind of a demo of some Kendall visualization with Substream, which is built by this new Delta feature I was talking about. And this was kind of a first real big Substream that I asked the skill to code from scratch. And from that, what I did is that I took all the feedback that the agent gave me, because I asked him to give me feedback about the skills content. And this was my kind of first pass of review where I put this feedback in, and I also added my own feedback there. And I continued that for 1 or 2 weeks, kind of coding different Substream. And last time before publishing, so beginning of this week, actually, what I did is that I launched Claude inside of a sandbox VM that he has full access with everything. I installed kind of the Substream, the Rust tool, everything that he needed, gave him access to the Graph Market infrastructure to an API key. And I asked him to go through all skills sample, create a sample project out of that and test all of them. So that was a way for me to kind of thoroughly kind of having a test bench of ensuring that at least the content was good, at which point I gave it to other colleague here at StreamFast that did some review on there and put their own kind of content. And this is where we are now. So we have 4 important skills in there. We have, the base Substream dev skill. This contains kind of roughly a lot of Rust best practices around Substream and how to work with them. For example, protobuf, it's something that people kind of usually kind of have some struggle to do or understand. There is some knowledge of protobuf in there, some knowledge of Rust, how to do some performance Rust implementation, like trying to avoid cloning. Cloning, it's known to be a problem, especially for big nested structure. And our Substream block, which essentially contains everything, is highly nested. So some people, we saw that they were doing Substream where they were cloning the block for each kind of iteration on some transaction. And this is a performance killer because cloning the full block, it's like 10 meg on Solana. So if you clone that multiple time for each transaction, your Substream kind of start to slow down a little bit because it needs to allocate a lot of memory.
Yeah, I remember the first time downloading a car file and being just like, oh my lord, this is a completely different thing than yeah, I was like, okay, this is a different way of thinking. This will take
exactly.
a little bit of time.
Yeah, you need to think about ownership of the data and stuff like that. So this is baked in the Substream dev skills, having kind of a good best practice for Rust. Of course, kind of the agent itself, he has some kind of knowledge of best practice, but the skill kind of pointing him to tell you, hey, do not use clone or use kind of iteration, or there's some knowledge about a lot of helpers that we have in our Substream RS library, like big int and stuff like that, that it's in there so that you don't start to go on a bad route, right? Trying to add some features that are already there in some places. So that's kind of what we add there. This is kind of the bare kind of skill that we have for most people for Substream development. One kind of companion skill, it's Substream testing. In there, what you're going to see is that stuff about, this how to get data out of Substream CLI, because we have a bunch of internal tooling that people can use to actually extract block data from our thing in JSON and stuff like that. It's some tools that we are using internally to help development that people are less familiar with, that we really like to actually kind of understand what exactly this block contains. Is it containing some kind of this transaction? Is it containing this? So the testing skill also kind of shows some. Since you're in Rust and you're working with protobuf, it's quite easy to run unit tests, right? A mapper, it's a simple function that takes a protobuf input and emit a protobuf output. So creating unit tests for that is super easy, and the testing skill actually shows some example. I think it has it, where is it? Integration tests. You need to load some kind of block that can be generated. Normally it will have the instruction to generate that, but this is a block that we extracted from Firecore directly. From the CLI, we said, okay, give us the full block in a protobuf format, and we simply kind of, we use it, and we use it for our map transfer. So people, it's really easy for after that for the agent or the developer to test their own mapping transformation logic in unit tests directly. And this is not something people think or do about because, again, you are in Wasm, you don't really thinking, maybe you don't have access to everything, but it's something that worked really well, and we have all our foundational module, they are tested that way. Since it's simple protobuf, you just save that to a file and you load that in your integration test, and it's working as is.
Very nice. Yeah, the transformations are really a strong feature of Substreams. Being able to do that easily with modules and having tests only makes sense. That's really nice.
Exactly.
That's really nice.
super easy to do and super easy also to pull the real data from the chain, because now you're working with a real block. So if you know that at some block you had, you know, a weird transaction that is doing something weird for your transformation, you use the Firehouse core CLI, you download that block locally to a protobuf format, and you run a unit test, and then you can work with real data, right? You don't
Right.
need to actually mock something. You can actually use real block data and test your real code on real data.
Very cool. Very, very cool, Mathieu. So I'm curious now to see how our friend Claude has been doing in the
I think
background
it,
there.
it, it finished actually.
I think it did too. I think it did too. Let's
In
take a look.
7 minutes, and of
I
course,
just I just set up a Moltbot just this morning. Shout out to Kevin Jones, who hyped me up on it yesterday, and just letting it go sometimes in a contained area, so much fun. So much fun.
yeah. So we can see, of course, he ran it for a sample of the chain, so we don't have the real full data. But for 2,000 blocks that he processed, he found that we had 243,000 trades total. Unique makers was around 20K. We have some volume in USD that is given. Let's check what he actually produced. Again, I'm going to do. So we see kind of produce a map trades extracting from the block. He extracted some of the trades from logs and call. He found the contract here. Is it the exchange legacy contract? I'm not. I have no idea how Polymarket works. I never, you know, hear anything about Negrius. I have no idea.
Go ahead and jump in, man. Go ahead and degen. The degen from tokens is now shifted to many Polymarket trading.
Yeah, so
it's a good time. It's a good time. I'd
he
recommend.
extracted all the order field event, as we can see here, right? He's extracting the order field log event from the block data, and he seems to feed that to a DB out. This is our module that is going to take trades input. It's going to output a database changes, which is just kind of a way to tell, hey, I want to insert that row, I want to upsert that row, I want to add that. You can see how it looks like, right? He created a trade ID for each row. And then we can see, for example, he has the maker, the asset ID, the amount field. He added some kind of token volumes tables here that we can see, right? Total volume. This is the delta feature I was talking about. Here he's simply adding the maker amount. This is going to be added, summed up by Postgres directly, so that there's no store in there. It's really kind of stateless transformation, and the stateful aggregation is done by Postgres directly. And he's going to add the trade count, one trade count, and then it's doing a bunch of stuff.
And to be clear, nothing was done by you. This was purely
this is the Claude that we run with the prompt and the skills, of course, loaded. That's what he generated for us.
Skill provided context, intent.
And this prompt that I have here, this was the original prompt. There was nothing in there.
Beautiful. And so how do you hope, I mean, this is now version 1. I mean, you're launching this skill here. So 1.0 is out. What would you like to see Substream skills evolve into in the coming year? It feels like we're on a unique moment with LLMs. I remember using 4.1, OpenAI 4.1 Mini, Gemini 2.5. They're all great. I've seen evolution. It feels like there's something different happening here with Opus. I'm curious what your thoughts are in this next year about the AI intersection and the growth of AI, and then also what you'd like skills to grow into.
Well, skills for now, how they looks like, it's quite fine for me. I think it's good knowledge base. What I see as kind of a challenge will be to maintain that in some way, kind of up-to-date way, if I can say like that. We're planning some kind of, even in Q1 at Streaming Fast, we are working on improving Substream performance in general. One of the things that we just kind of noticed that, for example, the compression of gzip through gRPC, sorry, it's a bit slow compared to what we found. So we are going to actually offer other kind of way of consuming data with more batching also to reduce the compression overhead. And this is something that I would like to see in the skills, right? So that this up-to-date knowledge, it's always there, so that agent and anyone kind of developing a substream knows right away the best practice and the most performant way of doing something, right? So
Hmm.
that's how I would like to see that evolving.
I had this thought probably a year ago, and it's still been echoing about how LLMs are uniquely posed to provide information contextually dependent to the user, really in a unique way. I was having a conversation a while ago, and they're so well placed to potentially provide dynamic, even UIs, dynamic ways to interface, where right now that way to interface is with, of course, our own internal knowledge to say we know this, therefore we need to find this item in the docs and then go ahead and grab that and pull that in. It's right there, which is an interesting place to be, where that bottleneck then becomes, right now I'm seeing it. I was in a call earlier today, they're talking about the bottleneck is now PRs, and like seeing, reviewing,
Yeah, of
2000
course.
2000 lines of code in a single PR.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
Like,
we kid we all make joke here is that we are one prompt away of creating a new software.
or removing.
Well, yeah, maybe
Or
replacing one.
removing. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
cool.
My I saw a meme. It was like improve my life prompt, and it was like RMRF root.
Yeah, nice.
Improve my life, make no mistakes. It was like rah.
That's right. So
So
yeah, that's about it about substream skills in general.
cool.
The skills also have some kind of SQL knowledge for our SQL sync.
Hmm.
So it knows about kind of this new feature that we call Delta Update. It knows about ClickHouse, some of the quirks of how to properly kind of map protobuf to some database.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the last skill that we've put in there. So that thing, and he has knowledge also about substream sync. So how to work with JavaScript or Golang or Rust or Python to actually consume your substream from gRPC or from a pre-made sync. So
Hmm.
that's another piece of skill that we've put in because it's also something that is quite important for, you are developing your substream, but consuming it is as important as having the data out because you need to
Yeah.
handle reorgs, you need to handle undos, you need
Yeah.
to handle cursoring, which it's important for reconnection. So it's
Yeah.
all kind of important knowledge that might be skipped by some people when they are doing this development. And if you are testing without being on live blocks, for example, you will never, for example, hit an undo signal. And maybe even if you don't test even longer, you will never hit an undo signal that will going to hit maybe in 2 weeks in production. So it's better
Yeah.
to be known than not
Yep.
known because it's a bit
Yep.
sad for people when they learn that.
Yeah, I from the subgraph world, there's similar potholes when data is somehow corrupted coming into the subgraph. I mean, it's just anytime you're dealing with things that are moving at the speed of chainhead, there's
Yeah.
gonna be some unique problems, and there's many ways to solve it. And I feel like this is another unique way to optimize the solution we're trying to get, which is getting people good data at the right time. So.
Yep.
Mateo, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you hopping in here and sharing about skills. For the developers out there, I shared the Substream Skills repository in the chat. And if you have difficulty finding it and you're just checking out this live stream, go to the Streaming Fast repository, Streaming Fast GitHub, and then the Streaming Fast Substreams Skills repository is in there. So thank you so much, Mateo, for coming in, and I will see you around, hopefully IRL, in these next few months. Never know.